Welcome to Dunsmore Moving Dirt. Yes, I'd rather be moving dirt than this, but it's got to be done. So I opened up the grill earlier and laid it back, and these are the two lines that I'm probably going to replace. This one is leaking, as you can see right there. It's sitting there dripping oil as we speak, and the swivel part of it is right here. It just swivels, and that's where it's leaking out of, the swivel. And this one over here is underneath it. Of course, it's dripping on it, but I'm not going to replace this one without replacing this one. So, but you can see how them hoses pull whenever you open this up. This hose has probably never been replaced. That one looks like it has, but it's much trouble because you've got to take this one off to get to this one. So I'm going to try to replace both of them. I'm going to trying to find that little old tool they give you. Anyway, they give you a little old tool to push in between here, and it's supposed to pop that loose. Well, I've seen them, sometimes they do, and then sometimes you got to take and drive that down in there, but I'm going to try that first, if that works. If not, I'm going to have to cut this hose. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. Try to get this line off first, and then see how bad the bottom one has got a swivel too. And there's less room to work on it than there is this one. So I don't know. Time I get down there, I may never get out, but we'll see what we can do with it. Things got a little excited there. I got my little old grinder, and I was grinding that line off. Finally got it cut through, but boy, as soon as I cut through it, oil went to going everywhere. So I had a 5-gallon bucket under there. And I didn't think a line that little had that much oil in it, but it does. So I got the line off. Now all I gotta do is get that fitting out of there. I think the oil finally quit running. That line was sitting there dripping, but I just don't. It goes to the motor, so I know it has something to do with the fan turning. You can set your reversing part of the fan, how often it stops in reverse, and that may be what tells that fan, and that may be when there's oil going to it. I don't know. But I'd set that for the longest period. The shortest you can set it for is 30 minutes, going every 30 minutes it stops and the fan starts going the other direction. So if you're in brush and working in a pasture and there's a lot of grass, you want it set at least every 30 minutes so it keeps the radiator clean, blows that grass back the other way out of the radiator. But when you're pushing dirt, it's not that important to try to keep, because there's not that much grass once you get the top cleared off and everything. But I've got one big mess. The swivel works, but I could never get it to pop loose with that little tool. Probably don't know how to work it. It's so flimsy it bends. That's the little tool that you got. You're supposed to pop it under there. Like that. Hey, I did it. Now that I got the line cut into, that's the male part, and I guess this is the female part. But like I say, when they're sitting there at an angle a little bit and go to leaking, and well, that's the first one I've ever been able to get undone with that wrench. That helps things a little bit. That's what it is. Can't see the size on it. 1 inch. Thereabouts. I'm probably going to take a wrench to a grinder and get it as thin on top as I can. That's what I was afraid of. So that's going to turn. Well, I know they didn't give me no O-ring on that new one, so I'm going to have an O-ring on that one. Oh, yeah. Slowed it down anyway. Now, boy, oh boy. Ah. That little rascal's hard to get back in there. Not that.
Wonder how lucky I could be for that wrench to work again. Don't know. Brake's over, I guess. I'm going to try to loosen this line and maybe that'll wiggle it enough that I can use that tool and knock it off there. It ain't like it's going to get any oilier, so. I don't think. Unless there's more oil in this one than there was the other one. What's loose when you undo it from there? Well, I was moving it around and it finally broke off. Hallelujah. I bet that's hot. Not too bad. I'm afraid I can't turn it all the way around. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Well, if that was a hair longer, it'd hit. There that rascal is. I wanted to call it a few other things, but we're just going to stick with rascal right now. Man, oh man. Okay, that part is over with. Okay, I finally got it back together. The battery died on my camera, so I don't know when it shut off, but I was fixing to start it up, and I don't see no more tools in the fan. So we're going to see how many leaks we have, if any. And y'all will be the first to see them, because I'm going to be up in the cab till I can get it started and get it down here. So y'all let me know if it's leaking before I get out of the cab, and I'll shut it off. I just don't see nothing else in that fan. It'll let you know pretty quick if there's something in there. It's turning free without hitting anything, so that's the only thing I hate when you try to look down there. You're sitting there leaning across this fan, and it's a turning while you're looking down there, so that's usually not too good a sign. Working anyway. No leaks yet. Put some in it while it's running. Check it again for some leaks, let it run a little bit. I don't know, I may try to reverse that fan and see if it
reverses, that may be when it leaks. I don't know. But I imagine it leaks anytime because the fan's got to have oil going to it to run. So anyway, we'll see here. Check it out. Good morning. Thanks for watching Dunsmore Moving Dirt. We're still working on the bulldozer this morning. I got the belly pan closed back up. I left it down enough where when I wash it, you can see under there maybe, it's got a gap in there, that way that mud and stuff will come out of there. So anyway, got the blade raised up and you can see this gap that I was talking about here on the trunnion ball in the caps. Got pretty good little gap right in through here. And you have a bushing right here on the front part, which when you're pushing, all your pressure's right here. But as the ball wears and this back cap wears, you get this space in between here. And when you're backing up, if you drop your blade and back dragging or something, this goes all the way against this cap, and then you've got a gap here, and that's wearing in that ball, and the ball's wearing on the inside of the cap. So I got these shims here. So I'm going to bust this loose and probably leave the big one on top and bottom. There's a set on top and bottom, and probably take all of these out and see if that'll bring that closer to this ball. And that'll take a lot of slack and stuff out of your blade, because the looser this gets back here, the looser everything gets up there as far as your side play and stuff. And it affects a whole lot of stuff. And eventually, probably have to, once this ball can get worn enough where you've got to replace it and this cap, but they give you the bushings up here so it'll wear on that bushing instead of this, because that's a major deal, trying to cut all this out and replace this part of the cap. You can replace this and the ball a whole lot easier, and you can cut all this stuff out of the inside of the blade, replace it. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing this morning. We're going to be replacing that. I'll set up and let you see a little bit of that. This blade hasn't been off since I put my rubber on, and that's been 2 years ago, so I hope it comes off easy. I usually put some NIC stuff on that. That kind of keeps it sitting up. You never can tell as much water and mud stuff you get into. Maybe Big Boy will break that loose. If not, we'll have to get a cheater pipe and a brake over and all that. Yeah. Now, if you run Caterpillars, I know, used to run them, they've got these nuts that go on the inside of this thing. They're square and they got a flat edge, and they sit in there and they won't turn. But John Deere's are just a regular nut and they will turn, so you gotta usually hold them with something. may take all the little ones out and see what happens. If I can't tighten it up, I'll have to put one back in. That one had one already. Let me see. Put some anti-seed on them bolts. That stuff really does work. As much dirt, water, and mud as these things get in. For something not to be undone in 2 years. I have seen them where if they ever seize up, you got to cut them out. Put new bolts and everything in there, but that looks like it's going to do the trick. I knew that was going to happen. I don't know why it did. Lapse in the thinking process, for a kinder way of saying it. Air compressor quit off, so now you can hear. Okay, you can see the difference now. That gap is closed right there, so that took most of the slack out of that, and I still left this one big spacer in there. You probably, if you take this and out, you bolt unless you put some washers in there, it's going to hit here. So that'll run a long time like that. Like I say, it won't wear, it'll wear more if you got gap in there than if you do if you got it up snug. So say 90% of your wear is on this front side. That's why the bushing's just on the front side. When you're pushing, you're putting pressure on here. So anyway, we're gonna get the other side done and get that little project out of the way.
may leave one in this one. Thing looks bent. It's not bent now. Needed a little persuasion. That looks better. Took them all out of that one except for the big one. I guess the next time it'll get slack in there. If it lasts 6,000 more hours, it'll be hard. If not, I'll buy a new cap. Ball may be wore out by then. Put a new ball and a new cap on there. At one time, they started making these balls without this lip on there. And that's not no good at all, because you can get away with wearing a ball a little loose. You can't if that's not on there, because if it ever pops off, it's on the ground. And that poses a big problem then. If that ever happens and you're backing up and that drops off, you wind up bending one of them push rams up there, and that's not very good. You're saying, well, you didn't do this to the other one. I did after I turned the camera off, because I was going to before I put it back on there, and another memory lapse hit, so, but I've remembered it on this one, so had to. It was sitting here in front of me. Some like doing this, some don't. They say dirt sticks to grease, which that's true. After 6,000 hours on the machine, it's not gonna make or break it. So. I could use a little grease too every now and then. So. grab a hold of that. Okay, that part's done. I guess it would be an understatement saying that I had a mess in this shop, but that's usually what happens. It'll clean up. All these slick pieces, they were stuck on the pads. That dirt was stuck on the pad. I call them track patties. You can see sometimes we've got the bolt holes in there, but usually when your track's got wet dirt packed in the pads, it won't fall off till you get in the shop and let it sit for a couple of days, and that'll dry up, and just as soon as you move it, they just come flying off of there, just making a big mess. But like I say, I'd rather have it in here. I have before I had to unload the dozer, back it in here, because if you drop dirt like that just over a period of a year, your yard will get to looking like it does right there at the end of these mats. It's just almost turns to mud. You won't get stuck, but it'll have rud. So I try to keep them picked up if I'm out there. If I can't make it in here without the whole thing shedding off, I'll just back in here and unload it. But I can clean this up. I have had to bring that tractor in here and just put it in the bucket, and I'll see how big my pile is. Once I pile it up, I may do it yet instead of wheelbarrowing it out there to on the dirt part. So anyway, I can get it cleaned up. And I was thinking about that song here the other day. It used to be Cow Patti. Y'all probably heard it, but I had to hunt it on YouTube. It's Jim Stafford singing it, and I may put a link on the video in case you just want to refresh your memory. That was a long time ago, but it's a pretty good song. But anyway, them are track patties, or that's what I call them anyway, them shiny pieces that was stuck to the pad. So you don't mind them when it's out in the field or out where you're working. You never pay attention to it, and I guess that's kind of the way it is with a cow patty. As long as they're out where they go, you don't pay no attention. It's when you get them in the lot and got your head stuck around the rear end of them working on them, that's when they're not very good. So anyway, but that ain't too good a fertilizer. Usually that's that old red dirt, won't grow nothing, so it don't have the benefits of fertilizing like a cow patty does. So anyway, we're going to try to wash that thing off tomorrow if it's warm enough. We had another front come in last night and it's pretty cold. Then about all I got to do, I got to flip my cutting edge and put on 2 new end bits, and that thing's pretty well ready to go. So appreciate y'all watching this channel. If you hadn't subscribed, wish you'd do that and hit the like button and share it with all your friends. So till we get back either in the field or back in here doing some more, we'll let you see what's going on.
track patty removal. I think that was a little bit easier than pushing it out here the wheel bar. I'm gonna tell myself that anyway. Got that little chore over with, so see what else I can get into. Okay, got the cutting edge flipped over with new end bits. Every time you flip this over, or flip it over and put it on the other side, you've got a new side here, but then you need to change your end bits because they'll wear down just as much as these will. And these will help protect this to last longer. So the top side is the side that I've already run on. And it's not very, the more it wears down this way, the wider that gets and the harder it is to bring it back. So you can see that's just 1/4 of an inch wide. So if I'll catch the other side about like I did this one, it won't take much to build it up. Now there's one thing I've got to do. I tried 2 different rods on the facing of this to see which one was last longer. They both run the same, and there's just nothing left here. And I think I used stainless here, and then I used a hard rod here. Well, it's still good enough here to last, so I've got to come back here. I don't really have to put them on the top, but I need to put them here on the bottom, and that just keeps that from wearing the face down so much. And then where your bolt holes are on your end bits, your bolts are down in there farther. I still go around that when they're new with a little hard surface just to protect them holes, but so your bolts don't go down as far as on your cutting edge. And them bolts are not new. I've used them before, so the new bolts stick up a little bit more. So you put a little something around each one of those holes to keep that dirt from wearing off the top side of them bolts. So anyway, I'm going to do that, and that'll be done. And I think the only thing I like is putting my panels back on both sides and maybe clean the windows and everything. And I think that thing's ready to go unless I forgot to do something. So I think I'm fixing to go eat some beans, and we'll be back after dinner. I got it all serviced up and it's ready to go. So cleaned up and got the cutting edge all changed and kind of got the cab cleaned up. So anyway, it's ready to go out in the field again. So